So the heavy weapons guy is widely considered to be the face of TF2, since he's featured on the box art, in the promotional material. He's the guy that most people think of when they think TF2. With that in mind, you'd think he'd be one of the most popular characters to play for new players and veterans alike, right?
You serious?
Heavy doesn't get all that much love these days, as is evidenced by the ocean of soldier mains, as well as the huge amounts of clueless snipers and spies, but that doesn't mean that the heavy is free from stereotypes. So before we get started, let's quickly go over that disclaimer thing again. Stereotypes don't mean everyone, there are exceptions to them, so don't go thinking that these videos are a set-in-stone rule on what you should think of players using a certain weapon. That's really dumb. Okay, we ready? All right, let's go. I mean, what is there to say about the minigun that isn't obvious just by looking at it? It's a massive behemoth of a gun, it does insane damage up close, and it will completely shred anyone that tries to take it head on. That said, the same thing applies to basically every heavy primary, so I guess this doesn't really say anything specific. If you see a heavy with a stock minigun deployed, you know they mean business, but the individual stereotype will really depend on what variant they have, be it Australiums, Festives, Skins, whatever. But that's a series for another day. You don't have a strange variant of the stock minigun, and you're competent at gambling against AI. Not many people use this weapon, which is a shame. I do really wish that Valve would give us a Stranger Fire for this, since it's a really cool reskin, and I bet way more people would use it if it tracked their kills. This guy just hates scouts. That's it. I can't say I blame him, really. If there's a fast Boston boy being annoying, then this is the fastest way to shut him down. It's also worth noting that the slowdown effect that this weapon has is affected by distance. It's a lot like damage fall off, but with stun mechanics. So it might not be enough to slow someone to a standstill like it used to do, but it is enough to throw you off just ever so slightly when you're rocket jumping, which is why KJ has taken to using this weapon a lot recently.
Yes.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Oh no. Oh, come on. That was one bullet, and it threw me off just... I hate you. This weapon is a fairly common sight in MVM since it gives a straight damage buff, which is something that you can't spend credits on to upgrade. It's actually an active subject of debate which minigun is best for MVM, but if your medic is keeping you alive, this is amazing for putting out huge amounts of damage. Now in pubs, however, these guys are generally pretty new, and as a result, most Brass Beast heavies are completely clueless. This guy swears by the Tomislav. He will argue day and night that it's the best minigun for heavy, and I guess he's got a point. It's really, really good. Is it better than stock? Well, I don't know, you can form your own opinions on that, but Tomislav heavies are those guys that will never shut up about how superior their opinions are. But they also usually carry sandwiches, so I guess I can't be too mad at them. This guy's a cart heavy. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. This guy. Yeah, that one. I mean, it's honestly not a terrible strategy if you've got a pyro to work with. The cart negates the ammo consumption penalty, and the pyro can give you targets to focus down while you're revved up and super glued to the objective, so it's kind of smart in a way, but that doesn't make them any less annoying to deal with. This guy is either really new or a fat scout. The vast majority of tryhard heavies use the sandwich, so the presence of a shotgun usually means that he's just messing around. That said, I'd be ignoring a huge chunk of shotgun heavies if I left out the new players. These guys haven't really unlocked anything for the heavy yet, but due to the nature of the class, they're still quite useful if you stick close to them and help them out. Okay, this guy is definitely a fat scout. He's played the game long enough to get unlocks for the heavy, but he's still not using the sandwich. This takes the new player that hasn't unlocked anything stereotype out of the equation, and just leaves you with that one guy that isn't taking anything seriously, but is still somehow getting frags.
You know what this is. It's not a weapon. It's a sandwich. It's a fucking actually, it's a sandwich. There's a V in there. This is an item that, in my experience at least, you use because you've been pressured by your team to actually do something helpful for once, since you're obviously not spy checking enough, and you're not protecting your medic, and you're not looking for flankers, and you're not watching over your sentry nest, and... Well, you know what? If you can't beat them, heal them. Let's take a sandwich, or a robo sandwich if you're feeling particularly passive-aggressive, and sling it at their faces. And maybe then they'll appreciate us, because who doesn't love a healer, right? A good right-click toss with this thing says to your team, I have trained all my life to give you this medium health pack. And by the time you're halfway through that statement, they're dead. Oh well.
Outside of times 10 mode, you really rarely see this used. It does let you survive 2 headshots without dying though, which is why you'll see this slightly more often on payload maps or really anywhere with long sightlines. This guy is not taking the game seriously at all. By all accounts, it's a really bad weapon, aside from maybe a flank-heavy playstyle with the stake as a utility, and even then, it's just really bad. It is seen as the heavy meta in medieval mode, though, along with the killing gloves of boxing, so I guess it's not entirely useless. But either way, if you see a buffalo stake heavy, just don't expect him to get anything done. That way, when he goes on a huge tear with the frying pan, it's more of a pleasant surprise. These guys are usually new players. I mean, sure, there's the I use this because I have a strange variant fist heavies, and maybe there are some people that just like punching the crap out of their enemies, but it's most common to see on full stock heavies. Same deal as what I said about shotgun heavies. Stick close to them and help them out, and they'll be a surprisingly valuable asset to your team. These guys also like punching people, but they also really like Mr. Torg.
Punch him so hard he explodes!
Now, like I mentioned earlier, this is the meta for medieval mode. You can go on huge tears with this, and it's amazing. Also, it pairs surprisingly well with Fat Scout. Crit shotguns are nothing to scoff at, but at any rate, you really don't see this weapon on heavies that are actually trying to play the game and capture the objective, so just keep that in mind. This is one of the most common weapons used by tryhard heavies. The speed boost is a fantastic utility, despite the mini crits carrying over after you switch off of it, but anyway, gloves are running urgently heavies probably take the game more seriously than your average hoovie does. Why would you even use this weapon? It's just so bad. Okay. I guess Warriors Spirit Heavies are using this because they're new and don't realize what it does, or they're just curious to see how bad it actually is. I mean, I'm well aware that there's probably gonna be that one guy who will fight tooth and nail trying to prove that this is a good weapon, and now that I've said this, there's going to be a bunch of them, but I still can't think of one reason why you'd actually want to use this. This is one of those weapons that can be used by both serious and not serious players. It's an amazing utility for tanking damage and making escapes for those that want to try hard, and it's also really good at preventing damage in order to get up close and punch people if you just want to be a fat dude running around punching people. There's something for everyone in this weapon, so you'll just have to judge them based off of other stuff. Like their hats.
The person using this weapon probably isn't too comfortable with the heavy's default movement speed, but also thinks that the groove's downsides are a little bit too much, so they settle for a mediocre alternative. Either that, or they're a JoJo fan.
While this weapon is actually pretty good at stuffing Ubers if random crits are a thing, the vast majority of holiday punch heavies are friendlies.
What? Friendlies? Screw those guys, they're ruining TF2!
Hey, shut up, tryhard. It's just a game. Why don't you let people play how they want?
I'm going to completely ignore any and all arguments you may have against me and instead attack you personally, you fucking pansy.
Well, I'm going to completely ignore any and all arguments you might have and instead attack you personally, you fucking tryhard.
Everybody riot!
Yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna sit this one out. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Is it over? Alright, cool. Anyway, that's all the weapons for heavy that weren't already talked about in the multi-class episode. NG is up next, so if you have any suggestions or input that you want me to see, leave a comment or shoot me a tweet, or do whatever, I guess. I try to read everything I can and get as big of a sample size as possible, so don't hesitate to chip in. Anyway, that's all I've got, so, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.